All right, we back on sports, man. We back on sports. You know what we need to... No. You fans asked for it. I'm going to give it to you. This is the first video 2016, so you know what's about to go down, right? YouTube Nation, Main Event TV, a.k.a. Me TV, a.k.a. I got a chip on my shoulder today. That's right. Should we talk to him? Let's talk to him. When I say I'm going to talk to him, that means I got to talk down to him. That's right. Because I put it like this, all right? When you act like children, I'm going to treat you like children. That's right. Look, for what I've seen in this previous week, I'm going to say over the holiday season, okay? It's been absolutely fucking pathetic. First off, I want to thank you. You know, I don't know if you want, I want to call you fans. I guess I will call you fans, I guess, all right? Over the holiday season, on Christmas, you sent me messages about how bad of a sports fan I am and how X amount of YouTubers are better than me. Yeah, and then you did it on New Year's Eve as well. I'm thinking to myself, shouldn't y'all be, like, out partying and having fun? And then on New Year's Day you did, and I'm thinking to myself, shouldn't you be recovering from New Year's Eve? Even, like I said, when you did it on Christmas, I was like, what kind of fucking loser does this? See what I'm saying? Don't y'all have lives? I guess not. This is how you people act throughout the holiday season, and this is how you're starting your new year. So it tells me, when you see all these losers come out the woodwork and act this way, all right, grown-ass men, all right, not just kids. Some of you were kids, but whatever. All right, you don't got shows better to do. I'm sure you're going to get your head stuffed in a locker, you know, while you're in school today. But that's not the point. The point is, all right, when you have grown-ass men acting like this, it's fucking pathetic. It is. But you know what? I have to say to those people, I want to, I guess, thank you. I guess because you're thinking about me during the holiday season when it comes to acting that way. So, and I didn't even know who the fuck you were. So, don't these people realize that everything that they have, you know, that they say, someone has already said it 10 times before them for years and years, and it didn't stick then? What the fuck makes you think it's going to stick now? I don't know. But I do want to talk about the Eagles fan base. And I'm talking strictly to the OGs today. That's right. And I'm not talking self-appointed OGs or self-appointed, greatest Eagles fans and things of that nature. For those who didn't see that last week, we will talk about it, okay? But I do want to talk about this Eagles online fan base, and I want to say, y'all knew I was already kind of flying solo, but I want to make it official today, starting in 2016, that I am not going to be around the Eagles online fan base because they're a bunch of fucking idiots. They're embarrassing as far as I'm concerned. The things that I've seen, don't get me wrong, all right? We've seen this type of thing going on for, I would say, the previous 3 years. We've seen a new generation come in and everything, and I put it like this. You see it come in, and you're like, okay, hopefully they don't fuck things up, you know, because, you know, change is going to happen, all right? But then you fuck up even worse than what you think they would. And then when you call them on it, people get fucking mad. Look, don't get mad at me for calling you on it. Straighten up and fly right, Eagles fan. But it seems like when you have to deal with this stuff, and OG's going to know what I'm talking about. We're talking back to 2010. And remember you used to just make a video, and if you got it, somebody, you called them on it, you know what I mean? Or other person would, you know, you deal with that one person, that was it. These days, you gotta deal with a legion of fucking fans and idiots, and people will admit, I didn't watch your video, but you shouldn't say this about blah, blah, blah. Like, are you fucking serious? Like, what happened? Where did the sensitivity come from? And speaking of sensitivity, you guys in the comment section said last week that you were being blocked on fucking Twitter. That's right, being blocked on Twitter because of your opinion on Chip Kelly. So let me get this straight. Eagles fans are just blocking each other on Twitter because of what you have to say about Chip Kelly. Not because you're being rude to another person or calling them a bunch of names and carrying on acting up. Simply because you have an opinion on a coach. They're going to block you, huh? Are you serious? Another thing I need to talk about to the OGs, alright? Not too long ago, Eagles Fan for Life came out on Twitter and was like, I'm not doing 5 videos in a week. He's like, I don't have time for that. What's wrong with y'all? And apparently, somebody, told me he needs to do more videos or whatever. And I'll put it like this. OGs, remember back in the day, you used to just wait and wait. And when you thought you had, when you thought something really, got to you and riled you up, you was just like, all right, now I'm going to get on here and do a video. You didn't have to worry about fans saying, you better do this video, blah, blah, blah. Why don't y'all understand, all right? A lot of people have lives, all right? They got work, they got school, they have family and all. They're not going to sit on here 24/7 having to talk unless they really don't have no fucking life. Then it's a whole different story. You know what I mean? You understand that there are fans who anticipate videos and when's your next video and things of that nature, but you also have to understand that there are fans out there who absolutely demand it. They demand it, and if you don't do it, then they're going to curse you out and carrying on. There are people who are like that. Like I said, when you've been around long enough, you will deal with all these types of people. You will. And that is advice to the new generation, all right, that's here now. You will deal with these people in the future, just letting you know if you're good, all right? Now, with that being said, OGs, you know that we have been rocking this for so long. And we've talked about this for years. It's not just the Eagles fan base. We've seen it with the Phillies fan base not too long ago. You know what I mean? Phillies fans, what were they doing? They were enabling bad play. Losing 99 games, but you enabling the players to play this bad. Stop. We've seen this. It's not just Eagles fans. But just not too long ago on Twitter as well, all right? Yours truly, that's right, some guy decided to steal my tweet, right? Stole my tweet and hashtagged it up and everything. He got caught. But here's the thing. He wanted to get more retweets and more followers. Now, granted, it didn't work. It didn't work for him, okay? But also, for those who didn't see what happened on Facebook, some guy, I had stumbled across it, all right? A self-proclaimed granddaddy of the Eagles fan base online, right? Self-proclaimed granddaddy, right? And then gives himself a virtual award, a virtual award that says he's the greatest Eagles fan ever. And that you should follow him and like his stuff, and like his posts, all right? Now, real talk, all right? Because this man only had 10 followers, right? And to be honest, most of them look like family, all right? But when you give yourself a virtual award, when you come out and proclaim yourself as a granddaddy of the entire fan base, and you got like 10 followers, yo, I have to ask myself throughout this week, you know, when I'm seeing all these things happening, what the fuck this got to do with football? Nothing. Nothing. This is about fame. This is about likes. This is about followers. This don't have shit to do with football. It's grandstanding. Like I said, OGs, remember when you just thought, you know, one day, okay, yeah, I want to talk about this. And that was it. Now, you got to pretty much get on people, you know, and it's ridiculous what this has come to. I've had people message me on Twitter, I don't know who you are, but blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know who you are either. What the fuck why would you, first off, you're on social media, and your first thing you say to somebody is, I don't know who you are. Like, do you not have any type of communication skills? None whatsoever. You gotta be kidding me if that's how you start a sentence. Alright, on social media. Like, oh my God. These people, like I said, it is fucking pathetic. It is embarrassing. It has to be some of the worst shit I've seen in a long time when it comes to this fan base. It has nothing to do with fucking sports. This is about attention whoring. That's what it is. And you know back in the day, OGs, we took those people right the fuck out the pasture because you know not one person is bigger than the team. You know that. Just like not one, you know, sports writers we have said is not bigger than the sport and things of that nature. You've got to be fucking kidding me that this is what we're seeing out of our fan base. Now, I want to put like this, Eagles fans, and let's just say just Eagles fans. I should say sports fans in Philly. You should know that even though with all this stuff I'm telling you now, we do have some, you know, a reason, I should say, to be positive. That's right. Why? Because if you haven't realized in the previous year, a lot of changes have been made. That's right. So let's start. Craig Berube from Flyers, coach of Flyers, gone. Ruben Amaro Jr. from the Phillies, as we know, gone. Chip Kelly, gone. And for those who don't know, this morning, Mayor Michael Nutter, that's right, gone. And that's the biggest news for me, if you ask me, because as far as I'm concerned, when you see, like I said, those who watch my videos, you've seen how I've gone out and shown you all the parks and how they've been taking down stuff, and how he's always been a fucking bullshitter. Now he's gone. And I'm glad to see that. So maybe this new, mayor will actually help those situations. It's sad when you have Eagles player Connor Barwin do more for the community and actually renovate ballparks and things of that nature than your actual mayor. Like I said, no matter if you're talking about, sports on a professional level or on a local level, it's actually getting better for us. It may take some time, but there are steps in the right direction. Okay? So Eagles fans, Sixers fans, Phillies fans, I don't know about Sixers fans. Wait till Sam Hinkie's gone. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, sports fans in general for Philly, this is something that is, it's a step in the right direction. You should be more positive at this point. Granted, the Eagle season is done. I don't think it really mattered because as far as I'm concerned, you've got to be kidding me that it was a 35-30 fucking game. That is embarrassing for both teams to give up that many points. But I really don't want to talk about that today. I want to talk about what you came for, what you've been asking for since last week, and that is Chip Kelly being fired. That's right. came for Chip Kelly. And here's the thing, okay? People said, Vent, can't wait to hear what you got to say about Chip Kelly. I think it's kind of obvious what I'm going to say. And I think that is, I told you so. Because everybody, for videos I've seen, the way people are reacting, oh my God, I can't believe that we saw, this was coming. How did you not fucking see this coming? Look, I understand if people say, look, he should have been gone, but we don't know if the front office is going to send him packing because we saw what happened with Andy Reid's tenure, all right? They waited a little bit too long to let him go. You know what I mean? So I can understand where Eagles fans can say, I'm shocked because we didn't think it was going to happen so soon. That I can understand. But when you have people, once again, acting like they're so shocked they got rid of this coach in general, what the fuck did you not... Look, I put it like this. We've been talking about this throughout, I should say, the entire season. And I've called this down to a T, telling you, if Chip Kelly goes past 7 fucking losses, he is gone. Because you sit here, you see it season after fucking season after fucking season. And I'll put it like this. Chip Kelly, a lot of people say it's time to go. If he goes past 7 losses this year, send his ass going. Over 7 losses, it's done. Okay? And like I said, if you're already, like I said, if you go over 7 losses, kiss it goodbye. Kiss him goodbye. And yet they say, I'm the bad fan. Look. I understand if people don't want to take my words all the time at face value, and that's fine if you don't, because you should have your own opinions. You should have your own freedom of thought and speech and things of that nature. You know what I mean? I understand it. But I've been doing this for a very, very long time. And every time, regardless if I give you rage, if I give you frustration, anger, I also give you facts. And I give you predictions. And every time I make a prediction as bold as this one, what happens? It becomes reality, doesn't it? Okay. With that being said, this is not just towards fans, being shocked that it happened. It's also towards media as well, because the media, who's supposed to know these things, who's supposed to be on the up and up, they're supposed to know this, but yet they were shocked too. And I find that really funny that you pay guys to get on the radio and act shocked. Hello, 97.5. I find it funny that these people who are in Chip We Trust, where are they now? Not around, are they? It's funny because these are the same people who were so diehard, to so back him. Remember, the media did the same thing. It was like, one week y'all saying Chip We Trust, the next week y'all saying fire him. Which one do you want? And we saw, like I said, a number of us on here said, we do not trust Chip Kelly. He needs to go. So it's not just myself, okay? Don't think that. A number of us said it. You know what I mean? And what's sad about this is that you should look at quality over quantity. You should look at quality over specific fame. You've got to be kidding me that a person can make so much, all right, can make these type of predictions and still be labeled a bad fan. I find it funny that the OGs here, they're on YouTube or, even those that retired already and they're just doing their Twitter thing or whatever, you see what they say. And it's like, how can you go against what they're saying? Because they're calling this how they see it as well. And a lot of them are right. You know what I mean? Like I said, it's weird that we've seen this as of late because as this started, like I said, when it really exploded in 2010, it seemed like I was against the grain and a lot of people didn't believe it. And then when all this stuff I said started to come true, a lot of people started to be a little bit more realistic about things. And then they started, seeing things for what they were. And then guess what? It almost felt like we were the Eagles' nest. You know what I mean? Because people started seeing it. And then, of course, you saw, Eagles fans and Giants fans, they were going back and forth. But it was always in good fun. It was always in good fun. What I don't understand is that these people who were saying in Chip We Trust, because, those people are gone now. A lot of people, as we saw, after Deshaun was let go, they went and took off their Eagles green and went and go put on Redskins jerseys. So you start to say, who's really a fan and who's not. And the thing is, to be honest, if you haven't seen it around here, all right, in this city, a lot of Redskins fans all of a sudden. After they beat the Eagles, what happened? All of a sudden, I'm seeing all these people with Redskins hats on, Redskins jackets on, just out of nowhere. It's really weird, all right? It almost reminds me of when the Brooklyn Nets debuted, and then all of a sudden, all these people were taking off their Sixers gear and putting on Brooklyn Nets stuff. I find it troubling, I'll say, that we see this time and time again. And the sad part is, in real life, like, what you see here on Twitter, you're not seeing people act like that in real life. No one's going outside in reality and be like, I'm the greatest Eagles fan, blah, blah. You're not seeing that old bullshit. You're not. All right? You're not. But in Chip We Trust people, I have to ask you, How could you trust a coach who didn't give a shit about this team anyway? He was always power hungry. Hell, he didn't even try to keep his job. He didn't try to even fight to keep his job when he was being let go.
It's disappointing to me, but that is the danger when you take a risk.
Jeff, did you present an option to Chip to stay on as coach but not have complete personnel control? Or was that not talked about?
No, I did not offer that. It was decided that it was best to go in a different direction.
Trader Jeff, did Chip at least make a play to try to keep his job?
No, he did not. But
so this man blows up our team, wants to rebuild it in his vision, has all the power that he needs, all right? Makes up a lot of excuses on why we're losing, what's easy fixes and things of that nature. Lies to a lot of the media and the fan base on how things are going. If you haven't been paying attention, especially the whole running back issue, we will talk about that later, all right? But then after you do all these things to dismantle what was good, because we were 10-6 for 2 seasons in a row with 1 playoff appearance, okay, which is still promising, all right? You're going to tell me after all these things, you're not even going to try and fight to keep your job? You just don't care? You're just going to walk away like it was nothing to it, huh? This is the man you want to trust, huh? This is the man you want to put all your chips on, literally. I find it funny that every time I did a video and I talked about how bad Chip Kelly was and how much of a liar he was, and you can go back and watch him at any time you want to, and how much of a snake he was, and how much of an egomaniac he was, and how controlling and crazy he was, there was always fans that said I was wrong. Because Chip wouldn't do that. Because we have to give him hope. We have to believe in Chip. Look, it almost tells me, and I don't want to call people naive, because I understand that your hope, we've talked about hope before throughout this season, about, wanting better for your team. I understand that. But you have to look at people for who they are as human beings. You just can't look at them as a football coach and say, okay, these are the type of things that don't work, blah, blah, blah. No. You have to look at him. You have to be able to read between the lines. You have to be able to look at that man right through him and say, okay, either he's going to do this, he's real, or he's full of shit. And it's not that hard to realize, especially if you've been out in this city. You'll be able to do that with anybody, okay? So as far as I'm concerned, Chip Kelly did not care, not once. As long as he was in control, he didn't care. Then, when Jeffrey Lurie came in and said, look, think about letting you go. Because of, many reasons on why we can let you go, which I'll let Jeffrey Lurie explain in a minute, okay? Many reasons, many variables and things of that nature. And you don't try to fight for all, after you fought to get that control. You gonna tell me you're not going to fight to keep it? No. He just flat out didn't care. It was easier for him to let them fire him than to fight and try to make this better. That's what it came down to. His vision didn't work. And we knew that this Frankenstein experiment wasn't going to work. If you looked at things, it was. I still remember when people were trying to tell me that Kiko Alonso was going to be the guy. And it was a great trade. A straight-up great trade for him and McCoy. Yeah. Man, oh, good times. But the fact is, we should know that, now we know that Chip Kelly is a blatant liar. He never took responsibility. And he just abandoned this team. And I don't understand how players could be okay with that. Because we've seen other players say, hey, I support Chip Kelly and things of that nature. While it does sound like politics because you don't want to burn any bridges, you have to also understand he gave up on them a long time ago. That's what it came down to. Every time you heard a press conference, I still believe that they can do something, he was lying. No one just gives up. No one just says, okay, you're fired me, I'm done. It's okay. No. There's no, especially now for those who haven't seen the reports, that Chip Kelly is adamant to have another head coaching job in the NFL. So if you're adamant to have a head coaching job in the NFL, and you don't even fight to keep this job, that should tell you something. But let's listen to, Jeffrey Lurie about the many variables that got him fired in the first place.
Make a decision the Monday after the last regular season game or a playoff loss or something like that. The players really go for some physicals and disperse, and they're anxious to go home. In today's world, especially at least the way I like to run things, I want to hear from the players. I want to engage them and have them understand what they felt was lacking, I need to understand, have them understand and take accountability, but also at the same time be a sponge for what is leadership like in today's football world. You're dealing with 22 to 35 or more age people, and people who are elite athletes trying to perform at the very peak of their profession, and there's a lot of issues. And what is leadership like in today's world? It's very, very different than it was 10, 15, 20 years ago. And I would like to think that we're always going to try to be on the progressive end of how to lead. And that's top down, but it's also through the head coach and people the head coach surrounds himself with. And it's a real opportunity. And if I waited till Monday, there would be so much less of that opportunity.
Jeff, you said the players' opinions right here factored into your decision. Was it just the football, or was it how he acted, about how Chip went about his business socially, how he communicated with his players?
No, I think the question is how did it relate to the players in terms of the decision? It's one of many factors. There's so many factors when you're evaluating any senior executive, and certainly a head coach. So many job responsibilities, and in this case, it was just a plethora of variables that had to be looked at, and the decision was made that it was important to move on.
Jeffrey, at all in your opinion, back here, at all in your opinion, and from all the research you've done, did Chip lose the locker room in your opinion, and how much of this had to do with his relationships inside the building and with the players as much as it had to do with only winning 6 games this year?
Right. It's never just one thing when you make a change. It really is not. It's so much a combination of so many factors, from performance to you can come up with 10 different variables. So it was more the lack of progress and the trajectory we were going, and a full evaluation of every responsibility that head coach has, and and a determination how you would predict the next year would go.
Even though there are many variables, as Jeffrey Lurie said, on why Chip Kelly was fired, it always makes me feel as though Chip Kelly got off a bit easy. And I say that due to the fact that it feels like he was like a coward who got away with his tail between his legs. He just scampered off. That's what it feels like. Because, as we just talked about not too long ago, when you do all these rebuilds and you're cutting players and you don't know how to talk to players, and we talked about this throughout the season, how Chip Kelly doesn't know how to talk to players, but he always said his door was always open, instead of actually being proactive and talking to these players. You know what I mean? I don't understand how someone can literally rip a team apart and not take any responsibility for it. Now, of course, we just saw not too long ago, when I showed you that press conference with Chip Kelly, video before, where Chip Kelly would just be like, I take responsibility, and they said, well, is the problem you? If your players are giving you 100% and they're not put in a position, to, make plays, is the problem you? And he was like, I don't have the answer to that, because he could never say, yes, it's me. Even though he would say, I'm taking responsibility, but then he would turn around and be two-faced and say, I don't know if it's me. So, as far as I'm concerned, not taking responsibility is a huge problem with coaching. And, well, I should say just with Chip Kelly in general, after everything he's been given. Now, of course, we saw this in the Andy Reid era, where Andy Reid constantly took, responsibility for what happened. However, with Andy Reid, it got old. I think that's another reason why Chip Kelly was let go so early, because Andy Reid had exhausted that reason in general. It's all my fault, we gotta do better, time's yours. You know what I mean? And I think people got tired of hearing that, especially from the ownership. You're spending a lot of money on these players, you want results. And I think Chip Kelly going down the same route. I said earlier this season, what I say, this is Andy Reid's tenure, just a shorter version of it, because that's what it turned out to be. Now, even, like I said, there's always double talk when it comes to these type of things, but Chip Kelly did not disguise it well at all. Not at all. You know what I mean? So as far as I'm concerned, when you come out and you rip a team apart by the seams, you're not communicating with your players. You want all this power of being the GM, which is funny because, as we know, in that press conference on Monday, what did he say? I'm not the GM. I'm not this. And he was flat out lying because he didn't want to take any type of responsibility. I want you to hear what Jeffrey Lurie has to say about that, because he says he gave, Chip Kelly, as we know, all the power in the world to do what he needed to do, and yet he still wouldn't be held accountable.
Jeffrey, right in the middle.
Yeah.
Given Chip's background before you hired him, and given the 2 years you had to interact with him, evaluate him, get to know him a little bit, what made you think that giving him the power you gave him a year ago and keeping Howie in the organization, that scenario would work?
You know, I think that it was, I wanted to make Chip accountable for everything he wanted to have happen. And one of the ways to make him accountable was to have him make those decisions, because that is what he insisted on decisively doing. So if you want to make those decisions, be accountable for them. And that's the direction it took. There was a risk involved in allowing Chip to have that kind of say over player transactions. However, risk reward. Sometimes the risks don't work. And in this case, it didn't work.
So for those hardcore Eagles fans who still had questions on if Chip Kelly was GM or not, you hardcore people, you tout that to the roof. You like to beat your chest on that, don't you? I don't understand how you didn't know that Chip Kelly was the GM on this. Just because he came out on Monday and said, I'm not the GM, doesn't mean it's true. As you heard Jeffrey Lloyd, he gave him every bit of power, so that he can take accountability for this. And he still wouldn't. It means he lied to your fucking faces. That's what it means. And you ate it up. Or what he did was, his job, I'll put it like this. When he lied and said that I'm not the GM, and he made you question whether he was GM or not, his mission was accomplished. Because you should have known that he was the GM. You should have known, hardcore Eagles fans, you should have known that he was lying right to your face. Like I said before, last week, remember when we talked about how when they were planning for the Redskins and how Chip Kelly came out while planning for the Redskins and said, our offense can't run on their defense. He said that. He said that the running game would not work. Even though the rest of the NFL has run all over the Redskins, the Eagles' running game would not work. After he had put all that money into those running backs, after he had made all these moves, what did I say to you? How do you even think that? As a coach for high-powered offense, the genius. How are you going to sit here and tell me that we couldn't run on the Redskins? I want you to listen to Ray Didinger, how he talks about the money aspect, which we talked about not too long ago, where these pieces are going, and also, again, how you can sit here. I don't understand how anybody, if you're looking at this stuff, how you could have backed Chip Kelly, in Chip we trust.
The offense now is, you look at the amount of money, you let LaShawn McCoy go ostensibly because you didn't like his contract. Right. And we all know his attitude had something to do with that too. But the other part of it is now you've replaced him with Ryan Matthews and DeMarco Murray, and the money's the same. Mm-hmm. You're basically, it's the same amount of money for far less production. And for two guys, frankly, that don't fit the offense any better than he did, number one. The other thing is, you're getting zero from your wide receivers. Okay, nothing. Right. I mean, there's no group of wide receivers in the NFL that are contributing less to an offense. And yet, look at the resources you've tied up in that. Jordan Matthews, second-round pick. Right. Josh Huff, third-round pick. Nelson Aguilar, first-round pick. So you put a lot of money at the running back position, even though you like to say you didn't, right, but you did, and you're getting very little out of your running game. You put high draft picks at the wide receiver position, and you're getting nothing out of them. I mean, that's the kind of thing where if you're Jeff Lurie and you're paying attention even a little bit, you got to scratch your head and say, wait a minute. Yeah. This is a guy I brought in here because I thought he really understood offense, and I look at where my resources are being allocated, my money's being spent, and draft choices are being spent, and I'm getting nothing out of those spots.
All while looking the other way on
sure.
the offensive line.
And I think one of the other things was, and he used the term accountability. Mm-hmm. He said, in terms of giving Chip that responsibility, he said, I was looking for accountability from Chip. Okay, so I really think that the comment that Chip made on Monday, right, when he said, I'm not the general manager, mm-hmm, that's really got to, Jeffrey's never going to say it, but right, he's got to say, wait a minute, where's the accountability, man? Sure. You wanted all this responsibility. We talk about accountability. The idea was you're building your team. I'm giving you everything you want. Right. And now when it all falls apart and somebody asks you that question, you're going to say, well, don't look at me.
And he really did seem to go out of
manager.
his way, Ray, during that press conference to be like, look, he demanded this. He insisted, I think is the word that he used, that he have this control. And then Monday rolls around and he says, I'm not the GM, I'm not the GM.
Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that that's what pushed Jeff to the point that we were having this meeting here today. Right. But I think if you don't think that really bothered Jeff Lurie, after giving Chip all of that, to have, when things go badly, for Chip to back away and say, well, I'm not the general manager, don't look at me. Just like after every loss during the season, it was execution. Okay,
Right.
it's somebody else's fault. In other words, it's the players.
handling the running backs.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, come on. At some point, the buck, you wanted the buck?
Yeah.
Okay, at some point, the buck's got to stop with you. And Chip didn't seem to be willing to take that responsibility.
So as you heard, not taking any type of responsibility. It's the execution. Which you should know. He's trying to say he's blaming the players, okay? Because it's not the coaching, it's the execution, even though coaches are responsible for that. But it's the players, It's not, remember back then, it's not my fault that, with the running backs, that's Deuce Staley's problem, because he's the running back rotation. And we saw him, Chip Kelly, not too long ago. Remember we talked about this, in a video, I believe it was 2 weeks ago? Where Chip Kelly was physically, telling people, get out. He was telling running backs to get out. He was doing it on his own. It wasn't Deuce Staley. So, once again, he lied. All right? Then on Monday, it was, I'm not the GM. This guy doesn't take any responsibility. And then you had fans saying, he deserves one more year. Yeah. When you're seeing all these things, I don't think so. That's absolutely crazy. But now, since Chip Kelly is gone, let's talk about his potential replacement, shall we? So, Ray Didinger comes out and lists a number of coaches that could possibly fit the Eagles. Now, also, Ray Didinger came out and said he wants to see Josh McDaniels head coach this Eagles team. After what he did in Denver, I don't think so. You know what? I can already see it now in the offseason, Tim Tebow being brought back to compete for a spot. No, we're not having this, okay? We don't need Josh McDaniels, okay? Also, I'm on this list. Personally, I like Sean McDermott. I can see that, all right? I think that a lot of Eagles fans, including myself, gave him a lot of flack for what he did when he was here under Andy Reid's tenure. We saw what happened there. I think he's grown since then. So I think that could be a good fit. I think that John Gruden, if he decides to come back from retirement, because for those who don't know, there has been talk about him trying to get back into coaching. I would like to see that as well. I would like to see Sean Payton from the Saints, even though we know he's having talks, I believe today, with New Orleans. If he's going to stay there or not. I would love to see him come to the Eagles as well. I would like to see if Bill Cowher decided he wanted to come out of retirement. I would like to see him as well. Now, of course, we have seen a number of coaches since, I'll say this morning, even last night, have already been fired from other teams. Okay, there's been about 3 teams that let go of their coach, so we don't know what's going to happen. I think that Jeffrey Lurie is more pointing towards NFL coaches as opposed to going back and looking at the college circuit. So as far as I'm concerned, I think there's at least a good 4 or 5, I'm going to say, coaches right now that could fit and run this Eagles team really well. As we know, Deuce Staley has already been, he's been interviewed to be a head coach. I personally wouldn't give him that much responsibility since he was a running backs coach. I think that if anything, he would be more, I think the next promotion would be offensive coordinator, if for him. It wouldn't be just, you're going to get head coach. There's also, the guy from the Cardinals they're talking about. He's the front runner right now to be the head coach for the Eagles. I think it's way too soon because the playoffs are still going. Because for those who don't know, the NFL, when something like this happens, when teams lose their coach, they have to get clearance from the NFL to talk to other coaches. Well, mind you, a lot of these coaches that you're trying to talk to are playoff bound. You know what I mean? You don't want to disrupt all that stuff going on because that just adds more to the media and adds more to drama and things of that nature. I personally would say wait a little bit. You don't want to wait too much, in the offseason because you want to get it prepared as fast as possible because you got to wait for the draft. But like I said, I think there's a good at least 4 or 5 coaches out there that could really turn the Eagles around. I just find it pretty sad that this all had to happen. Now, I know a lot of people, even yesterday, after yesterday's game with the Eagles, you were saying, Billy Davis needs to be fired. Now, look, I'm going to talk about this for a minute because, as we know, Billy Davis does deserve to be fired, all right? But Billy Davis is not going anywhere until you get a new coach. Why? Because for those who don't understand how the NFL works, okay? They will keep whatever staff that they have right then and there, all right, unless the head coach removes them themselves, until the end of the season. When a new coach comes in, the new coach will evaluate the entire staff on who's going to stay and who's going to go because, as you know, with the new coach, they bring in their own guys, all right? They have an idea who they want to keep, who they want. Unless you're really in-house with that franchise, say like a Deuce Staley, because he more likely he's going to stay. He's in-house. He's known. You know what I mean? He's done his job. More than likely, he'll stay. You know what I mean? But for someone like Billy Davis, he's not going to go anywhere until a new coach comes in and fires him. That's usually how it works, okay? So as far as I'm concerned, no matter what coach, and I'm going to say this, no matter what coach comes in, once they come in and they evaluate what's going on, he'll be fired. I don't have any doubts that Billy Davis will be fired. I mean, it would be really weird if Billy Davis was fired before we got another coach. That's just not how it works, really. But, like I said, another coach, when they come in, they will bring in their own staff, they will evaluate, and then they will more likely clean house. We saw that when Chip Kelly came in, did we not? Clean house. Did not. All right. Same thing with personnel. I expect Kiko Alonso to be let go. I do, all right? You can't tell me within 11 games that you played, you had one interception in what, 25, maybe 35 tackles, if that? If that? Like, no. And you're getting killed on coverage the entire time, Kiko Alonso will be gone, I feel as well. I think now that we know that we're going to have a different coach, I think they're going to hold on to Sam Bradford just a bit, just to see what they can, see what's going to happen. And if they can't find anyone else, as much as I want Bradford to go, I think they're going to keep him. I think they will. I think yesterday's performance under Shermer, because, they were battling, yesterday's performance under Shermer shows that they didn't take enough shots downfield in the Chip Kelly era. If you notice, like I said, even though the Giants' defense was horrible yesterday, and I think that's another reason why they took a lot of shots downfield, because if you'd have played another defense, I don't think Sam Bradford would have been as, dare I say, risky. I guess some people would say liberal with his throwing downfield. I don't think they were, but it was hilarious to see him throwing downfield and Riley Cooper like, I'm open, and he's not getting caught. I mean, he's not catching any passes. I'm open, and he's like, that was hilarious to me. It was. You know what I mean? But like I said, I think Riley Cooper will be gone next year too. The way it really depends on how the draft goes, which is why I don't want to talk much about offseason until really the draft gets here. I know a lot of people talk about offseason, and I don't understand why they talk about offseason. Maybe they don't have anything else to talk about. I mean, there's a lot of sports that go on. But you really don't need to make a lot of predictions during the offseason. You don't. Because, especially now, because you don't know what coach you have yet. I would just say wait. Like I said, my picks, I give you my 4 or 5 picks, and we'll see what happens. You know what I mean? Maybe they will get the guy from the Cardinals, but we won't know that until we see how far the Cardinals go. You know what I mean? So, like I said, really want to stay away from off-season as much as possible and try to enjoy the playoffs for what they are, which we will start, I will start on other teams and watching these games next week so that we get a chance to talk about them, okay? Now, I do want to move on, and I do want to talk about more football, but as you know, overseas. Chelsea. That's right, you played against Crystal Palace. Let me say this right now. I told you before it was going to be a new day in Chelsea once Mourinho was gone, right? What happened when they played Crystal Palace? They destroyed Crystal Palace. Now, I know a lot of people are saying, but look where Crystal Palace is at right now. And I'm thinking to myself, you weren't saying that before, though. When Chelsea was losing to teams that were almost in relegation, you were laughing at them. Now that they're beating teams, now we got to have this, well, look at their ranking, look at their placing. Like, no, I'm not trying to hear that, all right? I said before, when it came to Mourinho being gone, the way they're playing, they could easily make the top 10. They could. And I'm going to stick by that. I am. I think they can make the top 10 now with Moreno going. And as we saw goals from Oscar, which cost a beauty right over to Oscar, and he scored. We saw goals from Willian, and then also Costa as well. So, when Costa scored, I have to keep asking myself, fans, you still want to call him a rat? Still want to call him a rat? What? You're not around anymore? Oh, that's what I thought. I found it really funny that, I'll put it like this, first half of the game was really well done. Chelsea was leading, but I felt as though possession-wise, Crystal Palace, when they came out the gate, they were very threatening. So they were definitely trying to win this game. You know what I mean? They weren't just laid back and relaxed and trying to wait for counters and things of that nature. No, they went at you. And I felt that was great. I felt that Chelsea really put this on, they put the shield on, and left it all out there. And I think John Terry said it best after the game in the post-game, where he was talking about how it was a tragedy. I wouldn't say a tragedy, but he says it was tragic what happened with Moreno, and it shouldn't have happened, because we have a lot still, and he's still playing this role that we have a lot to, prove to the fans. And I cannot stress this enough. Even though the goal is winning, you won it all last season. You won it all last season. So if you did bad this season or you didn't win it all this season, guess what? It's not like fans are like, fuck this team, whatever. As long as you don't get relegated, cool. Like I said, it almost feels like these people who make these type of complaints have never dealt with a bad season in sports. They don't know how to handle it. So when John Terry comes out and says these type of things, granted, you're supposed to always want more, want better. But like I said, I think they can make top 10 now. I think a lot of people got on Chelsea a bit much when it came to playing Manchester United. They were saying how they got lucky, and but if you look at it, when you look at chances and you look at things of that nature, both teams had their chances. They did. But no one really wants to talk about that, though, for some reason. I don't understand it. Whatever. I just feel as though, when they played yesterday morning, they played really well, and I was very happy to see them play to the level that they did. I thought there was a little bit too much complaining between both teams, not one, but both teams complaining about not getting any foul calls and things of that nature. But overall, playing in the rain, in the mud, and the sliding all over the place, love to see it. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was great. That's the type of game you got to go out and win. You went to their house, you punched them in the mouth, and you sent them home. That's what you got to do. So Chelsea did what they needed to do. I don't see why any fans at this point should be really upset. They shouldn't. They're actually playing really hard. Give them their credit. And I know a lot of people do not like that manager, but you know what? If that's what you got to do to get a reaction out of these people, because we've seen it as of late, the media is like, have you seen the way the manager is dressed during their warm-ups and things of that nature? He's leading the warm-ups and stuff. And I'm like, what does it matter? If that's what you have to do to get these guys on the right track and play and win, then by God, do it. Like I said, you notice there hasn't been much negativity when it comes to the manager when he speaks. No, because they've had enough of that. They've been dumped on enough. Not by just Moreno, but his crazy-ass followers, too. Because they just joined in. They dogpiled on him. It was ridiculous. Hopefully, we will see what happens next. And we just keep winning at this point. Like I said, I don't expect the championship, but you can make top 10. Like I said, the goal is to stay out of relegation, and Chelsea's doing it. I'm proud to see that. I am. I really am. Now, I do want to talk about football overseas some more. Soccer, whatever you want to call it. Because Griffin Force flop of the week. I am so tired. Now, I don't just have one for you. No. Got more for you as well. Because you've got to be kidding me that something like this is going to happen during the Leicester City game. What is happening here? Someone tell me how this is a foul. And it goes to show you how disrespectful it is to the sport in general.
Just have another little look there. Oh, there's nothing. Come on.
Come on, man. You weren't even touched. And if that was bad, this also happened this week. Look, is it a foul? Yes. But you can't tell me you're going to throw yourself backwards and flip over and stop. You're killing me.
Lane just didn't have the pace to compete with Sham. It's more the fall afterwards it actually was from Sacco, but
I swear, the L in EPL, you're taking all types of losses this week. I don't understand what's going on. You know what? Let's move on. It's just, oh my God, it's so hard to watch. It just is. You gotta be, come on, man. Anyways, let's move on. Let's talk about mixed martial arts. So, let's talk about this. Not too long ago, for those who don't know, Ronda Rousey's sister came out and said that part of Ronda Rousey died in the loss to Holly Holm, right? So, pretty much Ronda Rousey is having a Rocky 3 moment. She is. You know what I mean? She lost. She can't find herself. I'm wondering if there's anyone around to try and beat her. Adrian used, that talk that they had on the beach in Rocky 3 after he lost to Clubber Lang. That's what needs to happen for Ronda Rousey. To pick herself up, give her montage, and let her get back onto this. You can't tell me that one loss, Ronda Rousey, is keeping you down like this, all right? Because it's like this. You won, a bronze medal in judo, which means you weren't good enough to win the gold. You took losses then. What's the problem now? Are you really believing your own hype? Because as we know, in mixed martial arts, anyone can lose at any given time. Now, granted, the way she lost was crazy, all right? But when Floyd Mayweather, and that's what I thought was very ignorant, when he said, was there any undefeated mixed martial artists? Do you know how quick it is to submit to a submission? Do you know how quick it is that you can get caught with a submission? It literally takes a second like that. And as soon as it's applied, you're tapping. So don't tell me that all of a sudden, oh, well, you have to be perfect like me. No, I'm not trying to hear that shit. Mixed martial arts is a completely different animal than boxing, Floyd Mayweather. So for him to say something like that was very ignorant of him to say. All right? However, Ronda Rousey, as we know, she lost via knockout. We know this, okay? But there's more to this, all right? Ronda Rousey's sister says that horrible people are gleeful over this knockout. Now, look, I'll put it like this. We've seen people say, damn, a lot of people like, damn, that's a knockout, you know what I mean? But I've never seen this go as long as it has. I say it's because we're seeing way too many, like I said before, grown-ass men acting like this. There's no reason for it. You're sitting there bagging on Rousey months afterwards. Even when Pacquiao got knocked out by Marquez, you saw those memes, but guess what? It went away after a couple months. Everyone stopped. Everyone stopped. This you're still keeping going. Why? Why is that? I don't understand this. Look, if you're laughing over someone getting knocked out, saying, "Oh, damn, that's kind of messed up," she got caught. I can understand that, all right? But people who want to keep bagging and bagging and bagging on a fighter who has worked so hard to become where they're at, that is disgusting. There's something wrong with you, all right? Like I said, if you can become a bronze medalist in judo, I would say go do it, because she did it. If you think that you can go undefeated, for X amount of time in the UFC, I'd say go do it before you decide you want to sit here and bag on Ronda Rousey like this. Like I said, what Rousey did, like I said, for her feeling bad about herself and all this, she's got to snap out of it. Do I feel bad for her in that point? No, I don't. I don't. Okay? Because you're losing your fighting spirit because of one loss. That's ridiculous. Okay? But for people to want to keep bagging on and carrying on, there's something fucking wrong with you. You don't have nothing else better to do. But there's more. And now I have to correct people, because people don't know. Holly Holm is willing to fight Chris Cyborg at a heavier weight class. Okay? She came out and said that she's open to fighting it. All right? When this was announced, a lot of people came out and said she's willing to do something that Ronda Rousey wouldn't do. Even in the article that I'm going to put in the info bar, says the same thing. It's something that Ronda Rousey wasn't willing to do, because she wanted to stay at her weight class. She wanted to fight on an even level because she was afraid that Chris Cyborg would be still hooked on the junk. Right? That's what the article says. Now, for those who remember Strikeforce, when Cyborg fought Carano and she destroyed Carano, we knew she was on the junk. Not too long ago, Cyborg apologized to Gina Carano and saying, "Look, what I did was absolutely wrong. It was wrong of me to do." But you know what? At the time, you weren't thinking about that, were you, Chris Cyborg? Here's the thing. Holly Holm comes out herself and says, there's not a weight class in the UFC for this. All right? She says that. So for everyone saying Ronda should have moved up in weight and things of that nature, hey, there's not a fucking weight class for it. I've been trying to tell you people this. Like I said, people move down because they have the strawweight and they have the bantamweight and whatever. They did not make a heavier weight class in the UFC yet for women. Okay? They haven't. So if this fight were to happen, if Dana will allow it, due to the fact that you would have to make a completely different weight class, or should we say a catchweight fight, there's two things that can happen here, all right? Either it would be completely lopsided because of the weight difference, okay? That's number one. Or this fight would be so good and have such fireworks that it would open up a division for a higher weight class. Now, that is up to Dana White, okay? But for people sitting here saying this is what you do when you move up in weight, like I said, I don't see people getting on John Jones. And there's a weight class, there's a heavyweight class. I don't see John Jones moving up. No. When fighters get beat bad at a specific weight class, what do? They move down. You can look at Lyoto Machida, you can look at Kenny Florian, you can a number, Robbie Lawler himself, you can look at, he dropped down in weight. You can see it. People don't just move up in weight, they drop in weight. When they feel as though this is way too much, or even when they're dominant. There's like, look, what else do I do? Conor McGregor? Yeah, he's moving up in weight. Guess what? He gonna find out real quick those 155s are sharks. He gonna find out real quick. It's not like the 145 division. I'm telling y'all, it's completely different. I see this from people who I feel, even though they like fighting, they don't know actually how this works. It's not just, oh, we're just gonna make a fight and that's it. It's not like boxing. You know what I mean? Where you can have that catch weight at any time. It's not like that. UFC is going to be, because there's not a weight class for them that exists like that, they're going to be very careful with this. And especially if Holly Holm is the new poster child, if she is, you damn right they're going to treat her just like Rousey. So I'll put it like this. If Holly Holm keeps fighting and she keeps that title for a lengthy amount of time, the same people who praise Holly Holm for beating Ronda Rousey will turn on Holly Holm for being the same way. That's right. That's what I'm saying. But since I spoke about Robbie Lawler, and for those that didn't see UFC, Robbie Lawler versus Condit, I'm going to say this right now, all right? And I'm going to put the link in the info bar that Dana White, the UFC on Fox team, think that Condit beat Lawler. Anybody who saw that fight, Condit beat Lawler. He did. Robbie Lawler had the better power punches. He did when he came forward. But you also have to understand the reason why Robbie Lawler was so conservative was the fact that he knew that Condit was very diverse in his fighting. He knew that, so he had to hold back, which means Condit was teeing off on his ass. That's what it meant. But Robbie Lawler, when he decided to go forward, that's when he was throwing those bombs and getting Condit. So it goes to show you that he was being very cautious on what Condit could do. Now, mind you, Condit was number 4, all right, in this division, as opposed to Robbie Lawler being the champ. Condit, I believe, he was number 4, right? Was it? He's talking about retiring now. He's talking about retiring, where others are saying there needs to be a rematch. It goes to show you that when these fighters, when they get screwed or something happens, it messes with them. Look, we just talked about it on Twitter not too long ago. Peter Quillen, when he lost to Jacobs, his first loss in boxing, what did he say? I'm considering retirement. 31-1, I'm considering retirement. When you see these type of things, like I said, you have to understand, first off, the world of fighting puts so much strain on families, on your life in general. You know what I mean? Traveling and things of that nature. You have to understand that when people decide to retire and that's it, that it's done. So yeah, you can look at it from a fighting aspect and say, okay, well, you only got one loss by retiring. Whereas though, there's times there are more factors that play into it. You know what I mean? For that retirement. I just feel as though with the UFC, I think there's too many fans. I don't want to call people, I hate the word, y'all know I hate the word hater. I hate it. I think there's too many people who are being naysayers to specific fighters and being hypocritical where you're not understanding where other said fighters have not done this themselves. It was okay, and you guys had said not too long ago when Miesha Tate, when she had that rematch with Rousey and she lost, and she was like, I'm considering retirement, what did Dana White do? Go ahead and retire then. If you don't want to keep fighting, go ahead and retire. So it was okay, to say the Miesha Tate, but Dana White ain't saying that Ronda Rousey, is he? No. See, you got to look at things for what they are. You really do. But right now, Ronda Rousey is ranked, as far as I'm concerned, she's not the number 2 fighter in the world for her weight class. No. I would say she's ranked either number 3 or 4 at this point. Miesha Tate is up. She's leapfrogged her. And I say it due to the fact that she deserves the title shot, number 1. And number 2, that fighting spirit. When you're seeing Ronda Rousey and people keep, posting it on Twitter, she's not worried about fighting. She's out walking her dog. She's gaining weight. She doesn't want to fight. She's just feeling bad about herself. You should know as a fighter, regardless win or lose, you got to get right back on the horse. You have to. You cannot let it get to you like this. Like I said, you would think that her camp around her would tell her to do these things. You got to keep going. You got to have that hunger to get back. And it seems like she doesn't. That's what it seems like. Like I said, I think that there should be a rematch with Lawler Condit. I feel as though Condit was screwed in that fight. I feel as though he won. Volume-wise, I think he won. But, this is why you can't leave it up to the judges. Again, you can't. And especially in UFC when it's easier to knock people out. You got to think in boxing, they're fighting with 16 to 12-ounce gloves. UFC, you're fighting with 4-ounce gloves? Come on. And no, a knockout isn't just automatic, but trust, when you have, like I said, when you have a diversity and plethora of moves, you should know that Lawler and Condit, like I said, it was a great fight, but I really thought that Condit, he should have won, but he had more in his arsenal. He just did. So if anything would have happened, like I said, I don't have anything against Robbie Lawler. I think he's a great fighter, but I didn't think he won that fight. And it seems like majority of people don't think he won that fight either. So, I don't know. Anyways, I think I'm done. I want to give a shout out to the Sixers. All right, because they won another game. That's right. They won 3 games, and then they got destroyed by the Clippers. The Clippers scored 130 points on them. God. But at least they scored over 90 points because, 50% on Papa John's. Yeah. And the Flyers still not. It's going to take a while for the Flyers. There's really not much to say about the Flyers. They went up against the Kings. Too little, too late. Their West Coast trip wasn't that good. The Sixers, their West Coast trip wasn't that good. But Brett Brown came out on the radio and said the other day that, he felt that, this has been a thing that's better. That they look more confident ever since they acquired Ish Smith. And I put like this, yeah, you went and got him, and he plays a lot better with that team. It goes to show you, if you get yourself an actual point guard who knows what they're doing, the team can actually go somewhere. And people were saying, well, Nerlens Noel's playing better. Okafor's playing better. Look, Okafor, if anyone who saw the Sixers play against Sacramento, Okafor was housing Cousins. He was just making him his bitch. He was. And Cousins got to the point where he couldn't do anything, so he just decided to keep flopping. And that was late in the 4th. All right? Just flop after flop after flop. And I'm just like, this is absolutely ridiculous. It got to a point where I was yelling at my TV because it was wrong. If you can't handle what's going on, don't cry, because that's what you do. Get on the bench and start crying about it. Then get back on the court and start flopping. Like, come on, man. Like, you have to change things. And the thing is, I don't really have much of a problem with DeMarcus Cousins. But that game, it was horrible. Absolutely horrible. The Sixers deserved to win that game. They did. They did, as far as I'm concerned. They played harder. Sacramento didn't look like they were really into it. They really didn't. Anyways, I'm done for today. First video 2016. I'm sure a lot of bullshit's coming down the line. We will see what happens after this video. I will talk to you later. Y'all be safe. I'm out.